everybody, and welcome to Kyle is Famous. I'm CPU Seinhardt, and today we're joined by...
Luna, help. I'm being chained down in the basement again.
Can you believe that Luna has never seen this game before? Oh, we're in for a good time. Yeah, I have not seen this game in years, so... They've also updated it since the original version, so there's a lot more stuff now. Unlocks.
I'm aware this game exists, but I've just never seen it.
Alright, well, you're in for a treat. Here we go. Kyle woke up. He is famous. Kyle is host of the most popular talk show in recent memory, Stay Up Late with Kyle. Stay Up Late with Kyle has grown in popularity quickly in the last year, and the public has noticed. Inside is called Kyle, a most excellent dumpy white man. Top Tech noted that Kyle is inspiring youth to explore STEM fields. Most other talk shows are dedicated to discussing Kyle and his personal details. Most online videos are best of clips taken from Kyle's latest broadcast. The eye of the world is upon Kyle. Tonight is Kyle's most important guest interview yet. Stay Up Late with Kyle will be featuring Rachel May. She is a kind and lovely philanthropist. She is dear to the hearts of many. This interview requires preparation. Kyle cracked his eyes open, knowing today is his last chance to prepare for the interview. Kyle has 30 hours left. He must choose his actions wisely. But Kyle's first decision of the morning was made wisely. I'm gonna let you make all the decisions here, so go ahead.
Yeah, oh god, this is a lot of pressure. Oh god. Well, obviously it's gonna wither. No, he's exiting the bed.
Okay. Kyle exited his bed and took a quick glance around his bedroom.
Open the closet.
Kyle opened the closet. It was dark and he could only really see his hanging shirts.
Choose an outfit.
Kyle decided to take some time to choose the perfect outfit, knowing how important appearance is.
Okay, I should take this first attempt seriously. Slick suit.
Kyle miraculously crammed his dumpy body into the suit. The chest pockets were filled with random knickknacks. Back to room. Kyle returned to the center of the bedroom.
Scavenge.
Kyle quickly crouched down on the floor, realizing his immediate need for...
Gossip?
Kyle firmly pressed his ear into the carpet, hoping to hear some stray words from the neighbors below. I heard Rachel May is going to be going on a trip out of the country soon. Oh, girlfriend, tell me more. Well, I will tell you is that every night I don a mask that looks like a bug and fight misdoers. That's a Kamen Rider reference, by the way.
Okay.
I assume it is, at least. There was a stunned silence, then a door opened and someone exited the neighbor's apartment. That's quite enough. Kyle returned to the center of the bedroom.
I guess exit the bedroom to hallway.
Kyle walked into the small hallway that connected the rooms of his apartment together.
Move to kitchen.
Kyle walked to the center of the kitchen.
Back to the pantry.
Kyle wanted to access the pantry, but found it was locked with a small keyhole.
Open the fridge.
Kyle opened the fridge, intending to find something to eat.
Prepare breakfast.
Kyle constructed a breakfast of poached eggs and toast, along with a small fruit cup and grilled sausage.
Eat.
I'm remembering a lot of stuff now. Kyle ate his breakfast slowly and thoughtfully, enjoying every bite. He felt refreshed.
Return to hallway.
Alright.
Leave apartment.
Kyle walked out into the middle of the road and took a long, pondering look around him.
Visit tech store?
Kyle walked into the clean white tech store. He was greeted by Techno Jim, an elaborate cutout mascot playing soft music from a small microphone.
Ask attendant for free samples.
Kyle asked the store attendant whether or not they offered any free samples to important customers. The attendant gave Kyle a confused and slightly vacant look. Kyle began to beg for a free sample. Wanting Kyle to leave, the attendant grabbed a decrepit phone meant for spare parts and held it out.
Grab with hand.
Kyle took the phone placantly from the outstretched hand and said quietly, "Thanks for your service." Kyle now has this phone to use forevermore. Kyle walked out in the middle of the road. Where are we going?
So we don't even need to go to the interview. We just have to.
As soon as our
use
time is up, we'll go to the interview.
Oh, visit downstairs neighbors.
Kyle approaches downstairs neighbor's door and knocked. A middle-aged woman named Gabby answered the door. Kyle hurried to the set.
Hi, bye.
All right, here we go. Sitting across from his host chair was a glamorous woman with an air of genuinity. Okay. As Kyle approached her, Rachel looked up and smiled. "Good evening, Kyle," she said, looking him in the eyes. I've been looking forward to being here." Kyle responded.
Answer politely.
"And I as well, Rachel," answered Kyle, extending his hand in greeting. "You are a most welcome guest." After another mild exchange of pleasantries, Kyle and Rachel were prompted to take their places for the broadcast. A moment after seating, the studio lights brightened and the cameras clicked on. What do you want to do?
Is the gossip about the neighbor like?
That's what we heard from the Yeah. Sometimes if you see things like blue, like this stuff light up here, that means that we have an option that we unlocked through what we were doing over here. Oh yeah, these here are our options we have. We have a phone, we have food, we have gossip, and we have a suit.
Okay, I guess the gossip about the neighbor.
I thought you wanted to play this seriously for the first round.
Oh, start broadcast then?
"Good evening, everyone," said Kyle, looking at the camera. "Welcome back to Stay Up Late with Kyle. Tonight I had the pleasure of interviewing the lovely Rachel May, who needs no more introduction." Kyle motioned to Rachel, who smiled and waved at the camera. "Hello, Kyle," she said. "I'm glad to be here." "Well, I'm sure we'll have a lot to discuss, so we might as well dive right in," said Kyle. "I'm very ready," said Rachel with a winning smile. In his shock, Kyle realized he had never bothered to prepare any notes for the interview. Knowing he had the eyes of millions upon him, Kyle came up with a solution quickly.
I had a feeling that thing I had to do, but
you already screwed up. You had to sit at your desk.
I had a feeling, but I didn't think about it.
Oops, what are we doing?
Play dead.
Kyle slumped in his seat and played dead. "Kyle, what are you up to?" asked Rachel, still smiling. Kyle did not respond and hoped nobody would ask questions. "Kyle, why are you pretending to be dead?" asked Rachel. "I can see you breathing." Kyle held his breath. The producer whispered to Rachel over her earpiece, "Give him a couple slaps across the face and see if he wakes up." Rachel got up from her chair and walked to Kyle and slapped him firmly across the face. Rachel slapped Kyle continuously, trying to get him to stop play acting. Other members of the crew stepped into frame to start slapping Kyle as well. Soon, Kyle was lost in the amazement of people around him, all slapping his face with both hands. The slapping went on for many hours. Kyle did not wake up. Eventually, Kyle did not need to pretend to be unconscious. Kyle prepared by dying. Okay, so let's now reset, and let's do this properly. Browse social media is an option now. Exit the bed, open the closet. We're gonna do everything we did before as well. Select suit, back to room. Sit at desk. Now we're going to write notes for
Write note for the interview.
Kyle wrote down his first question.
What, are you a mother? Okay, these questions are a thing.
What do you want to ask?
Is your mother a mother? No. Okay, are you a mother? Like, those other ones are a thing.
Wrote down a second question.
What are some diet tips?
Wrote down a third question.
Oh God! What's your funniest story?
His last question.
What's your guilty pleasure?
Ripped the pages out of the notebook and got up from the desk. Alright. What do I want to do now?
Checking desk drawer?
Open the side of the drawer of this desk and grab one of the items stored there. What do we pick up?
Small key?
Grab the small key he kept in his desk. Back to room. Now, let's skip over the scavenge for now. Exit bedroom.
Yeah.
We went to the kitchen next. We wanted to check the pantry. We have the
Unlock
small
the
key.
small key.
The pantry door lock creaked as if it hadn't moved for years, but it eventually opened. Instead of an assortment of canned goods and grains, Kyle's pantry stored his massive amount of bottled lard.
Oh God, Lord! Grab the bottle of lard.
We're taking some lard with us. Grab the
Why
bottle of
not?
lard and stash it on his person for later use. Open the fridge, prepare breakfast, eat, return to kitchen. Return to hallway. Leave apartment. Visit downstairs neighbor. Knocked on the door and then left. Answer politely. Shake hands. More. Start broadcast. Introduce Rachel. More. More. Well, I'm sure we'll have a lot to discuss, so we might as well drive right in, said Kyle.
No.
What do you want to
Oh
do?
God. More.
Okay. I'm very ready, said Rachel with a winning smile. Produce the notes he had taken earlier. What are we asking?
I'm guessing, does this actually matter?
Up to you.
What are some diet tips?
Rachel, you managed to keep such a thin and healthy figure, said Kyle. What is your best diet tip? Well, a good diet starts with a plan, answered Rachel. And don't break it. Cheat days can turn into a habit. But, she continued, that doesn't mean a midnight snack here and there isn't allowed, she smiled. Kyle looked at his flabby self, decided not to comment, and moved on. Kyle asked another question.
What's your funniest story?
You've been involved in a lot of different things, said Kyle, but what is your funniest story? Well, that's a great question, Kyle, said Rachel. I think the story I always try to remember is the first time I tried to make dinner for my family. In the soup I made, I swapped out the water with milk and tipped the whole jar of salt in the pot. While my family was sick from trying to eat it, I swiped their things and locked myself in my room. Rachel laughed elegantly. Kyle decided to move on.
Are you a mother?
Rachel, I and many others would love to know, are you a mother? Kyle looked up from his notes. Well, being a single woman with a career, she answered, that's not something I had crossed my mind. Rachel smiled genuinely at Kyle. Very reasonable indeed, said Kyle. He referenced his paper of questions. We all have one. What's your guilty pleasure? Ooh, well, that's an easy answer, said Rachel. Dipping pickles in chocolate sauce. It might sound strange, but it's tangy and sweet at the same time. I eat it far too often, Rachel smiled sweetly. After reading his final question, Kyle looked up from his paper. Well, Rachel, he said, I think that was all I was planning on asking you. If that's the case, Kyle, may I ask you something in return? Asked Rachel, smiling one more time. Do you prepare for your interviews in advance? Because you seem very together. Before Kyle could answer, the camera shut down. The broadcast was over. Kyle returned home knowing the interview had gone well. But as he lay in bed and drifted to sleep, he felt that perhaps someone was still missing. Kyle prepared very well. We have more world options.
More word options.
So, I'm gonna turn on voiceover for this next one. Just to see what changes.
Kyle woke up. He is...
Okay. Alright, what do you want to do?
I think I get what's going on with this game.
Oh, we also keep the phone we got from the thing.
Oh, I guess, you know what? Wither away.
Kyle decided to stay put and wither away. Kyle withered successfully and died.
Shucks.
Shucks.
Kyle is now a ghost. This does not relieve him of his responsibilities.
Get out of bed anyway.
Anyway.
Alright, what are we doing?
Wait, you're now a ghost.
We're a ghost. Now what?
Open the closet. Inspect rusty locker.
Kyle knelt down and inspected the old, rusty container that had been in his closet for ages. It was locked, but had a blade-shaped slot in the top.
What? Okay, now what?
Sit at desk. Checking desk drawer.
Ooh, items.
Flashlight.
Want to grab the flashlight?
Yeah, it said about the...
Kyle grabbed the flashlight, but after jiggling the switch, he found it was out of batteries.
Checking, wait. Batteries. Wait, maybe we can get batteries with the money from at the tech store.
Ooh, We need money for that. So desk drawer, assorted
Yeah,
change.
sorry.
Kyle,
Cool.
And then back to room.
Are we not gonna write notes?
I am invested on this at this point.
Got it.
So exit bedroom to hallway.
All right.
Leave apartment.
Oh, we're just leaving.
Tech store.
Haunt around.
Wait, haunt around. Buy
Give a
batteries with
review.
chain.
We can give a review.
Give
Free
Yeah,
sample.
free sample. Holy fuck. Okay,
We've
we
got it.
need to. We've got to.
this phone, said Kyle, is several years old and has exposed wires coming out of the back. Kyle continued. Also, the screen has had issues ever since I used it to hammer nails into the wall.
What?
What?
Furthermore, when I submerge it in water, I get severely shocked until it runs out of battery. The attendant looked at Kyle, pursed his lips, and said nothing.
Okay.
Feeling he had made his argument, Kyle decided to leave.
No!
Buy batteries.
Kyle counted out $1.98 in pennies and nickels and traded them for a small packet of batteries.
Wow.
Do we even have enough
Kyle
time?
crammed the batteries into his flashlight.
Steel Techno Gym.
Quickly, before the attendant could acknowledge him, Kyle grabbed Techno Jim by the shoulders. Finding that Techno Jim's cardboard feet were bolted to the ground, Kyle started to heave upwards. After several tugs, Techno Jim broke free, leaving 1 foot and 1 leg behind. Kyle glanced at the attendant, who was staring, bewildered, and ran outside.
Now what?
Haunt around.
Kyle felt a sudden pull on his heart. Had he abandoned his job as a ghost? Was he fulfilling his spooky, ethereal role that he'd accepted while lying in bed this morning? Kyle realized he had no other choice. He must spend his day spooking about. Kyle decided he should make a plan about who or where he should spook.
I guess
Spook
we've
the
given up on the
interview?
interview now.
Yeah, I guess maybe spook. No, spook neighbor Gabby. We haven't actually seen her yet.
Kyle believed that Gabby would be delighted to have him spook about a bit. Kyle started to slowly creep to Gabby's door in a very spooky way. He crouched by Gabby's door, cooing quietly and waiting for her to leave so he could cause her a spook. It didn't take long. Soon, Gabby exited her apartment and started walking towards her car. Kyle crept behind her, invisible to all senses. Gabby opened the driver's side door and got in. She seemed to be leaving for some errands. Kyle was struck with a wonderful idea. Kyle started to run to the back of Gabby's car. Perhaps if he could catch her before she left, he could hide in the trunk. Kyle could make noises as she drove. He could follow her around on her errand, knocking over small objects nearby. Gabby put the car in reverse and floored the accelerator. Invisible to all senses, Kyle was crushed underneath the back tires of the car, creating a large boom. Gabby figured she'd hit the curb. She put the car into forward and floored the accelerator again. Kyle became locked in an endless loop of Gabby trying to move her car out of her parking space, being run over repeatedly. As the day started to wane and it drew closer to the time of Rachel's interview, Kyle ceased to be a ghost, per normal. Gabby neither noticed nor stopped. Kyle was forced to conduct Rachel's interview while being run over.
Oh my god.
Kyle's crew moved the filming set next to Gabby's apartment.
What the
What?
hell is this?
What?
Rachel appeared. Kyle asked her many questions. They shared several laughs. The interview was successful. The sound of Gabby flooring her car's accelerator drowned out large sections of the episode.
Wow.
Haunted. Okay.
Okay. Welcome back. Where are we going?
I'm invested in the flashlight. Exit the bed.
Okay.
Sit at desk.
Oh wait.
Never mind.
My bad. Sit at desk. Checking desk drawer.
Checking desk
Flashlight.
drawer, flashlight.
Back to the desk.
Into desk. Just best
Checking
drawer.
desk drawer.
Solid
Change.
change.
Kyle,
At the desk. Back to room. Exit bedroom to hallway. Main apartment, tech store. Buy batteries with change. So,
You want to steal Techno Gym
Return-
again?
nah, we didn't. It's just because we didn't have much time. Return to street. Return to apartment. Return to bedroom. Open the closet.
Inspect with
Inspect with
flashlight.
flashlight.
Kyle shined his flashlight into his moist, cave-like closet that had not seen light in years. After several minutes of searching around with the light, Kyle saw something unusual in the back. There was a pile of strange items, including a small metal box with a large red button stamped with Travel Time.
Travel time.
You want to travel time?
Sure.
Kyle, bored of the situation, mashed the button, hardly reading the label above. The box hummed and shook. The outside metal grew hot and slowly curved in on itself. In a moment, it was early in the morning. Kyle had gained several hours of preparation time.
Boom.
What?
We are back at 30 hours. What do you want to do?
What is that? An infinite loop?
Yes. Is it? Hold on. It is not. It's a one-time use.
Oh, okay. Open the closet. Choose an outfit.
Kyle decided to take some
Jeans and
time to
swimming
choose the perfect
goggles.
outfit.
Yeah!
Kyle decided on a fashion-forward, casual style. He could barely see out of the goggles.
Sit at desk. Write notes for interview.
Kyle wrote down his first question.
Am I a mother?
Am I a mother?
Kyle wrote down his second question.
Beef, mashed or blended?
Kyle wrote down his third question.
I purposely ran over a puppy.
Yep.
Kyle wrote down his last
Oh my
question.
God.
Are you guilty?
Hell yeah!
A check-in desk drawer. A small key.
Kyle grabbed the small key he kept in his desk.
And let's grab the CD as well, I guess, in case it comes in handy.
Oops. Oh,
Carnival music.
hell yeah.
And let's go grab some food.
Where are we going?
And also the pantry.
Kyle walked the pantry door. Instead of an assortment of canned goods and grains, Kyle's pantry stored his massive amount of
Oops.
Oh, we didn't even get
sitting
to
across
eat.
from his. As Kyle. Good?
Kyle responded politely.
And I as well, Rachel.
Shake hands.
After-
More.
A moment after
Here
seeing.
we go.
Good evening.
Introduce Rachel.
Tonight,
And now,
I have the pleasure of interviewing the lovely Rachel May,
What's
who
the
needs no
plan?
more introduction.
Wait, what? Produce CD.
produce CD.
As Rachel started to reply, Kyle clamped his hand over her mouth.
What? No.
Hush, he said. I need to do something before we can continue. Kyle removed the CD he had brought to the interview and placed it in a nearby player deck. The sound system kicked into action, piping Kyle's music throughout the studio. Rachel briefly listened, a blank expression on her face. Smiling, Kyle closed his eyes and enjoyed the music for a moment. Then, he spoke. All right, now everything's ready. Let's begin.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Kyle produced the notes he had taken earlier.
All right, what are we asking?
Let's start semi-normal first. Beef, mashed or blended?
A burning question from the fans, said Kyle. Beef, do you prefer it mashed or blended? I'm sorry, Kyle, said Rachel. What on earth is this music? It's very... well, it's something. It's an old favorite, Rachel, said Kyle. This is what I grew up on. It's part of my most special collection.
Oh my god.
Kyle and Rachel sat silently, the music playing in the background. Kyle woke up. He is
What?
famous.
What the hell just happened?
The hell just happened?
What?
Did we just... What? Ah,
Great. clicked out of the game and it freaking.
Aw.
All right, I'll be right back. Let's get this going again.
Choose
Kyle
an outfit. Choose new novels. Yep. Best take a draw. Flash.
Kyle
Fine. Enjoy. Oh, well, let's not do the music this time. Let it change. I don't even know if we'll have enough time, by the way.
We
Kyle.
will. Don't worry. I'm running.
Kyle
The street. Central apartment. In the closet.
Damn it!
Nope.
Kyle motioned. In response, Kyle collapsed on the floor. From a combination of stressful preparation and not eating anything, Kyle had passed out.
Oops.
Nobody in the studio quite knew what to do with him. They began to poke Kyle in the back to see if he moved. After a while, they ended the broadcast, shut off the lights, and went home. Kyle was left face first on the floor.
Okay.
Starving himself.
Let's try to do this
Crap.
again. Open closet. Choose an outfit.
Kyle just
These
Yep.
over here. We want to. Open
We should be able to do
the-
this
no,
without preparing them all. The desk.
Hold
in
on.
desk drawer.
This drawer. We want the flashlight.
Kyle.
We want the CDs of Carnival Music.
We're not gonna have enough time.
Yeah, gotta do this now then. New apartment. Tech store.
We don't have the money.
We're stealing Techno Gym.
Quickly finding that after Kyle glanced at the attendant, who was staring, bewildered, and ran outside.
Turn to apartment. Move to kitchen. Open fridge.
Kyle opened the fridge, intending to
eat the
find
fridge.
something to eat.
No, hold on. Prepare breakfast.
Kyle
Eat.
Smash.
Kyle
ate
his
Smash.
Okay, good. Now we've had time. So now we do
It's-
my favorite
As
part.
Kyle-
Approach Rachel.
Good evening,
Interview
Kyle.
Techno Gym
Kyle
instead.
Gym
roughly shoved
instead.
Rachel out of her seat and placed Techno Jim in her stead.
What?
Hello, Techno Jim, said Kyle. I'm going to interview you today. Kyle grasped Techno Jim's hand and tried to shake it, but instead tore it off the cardboard frame.
Oh
Kyle's
god.
producer, sensing viral media, pulled the bewildered Rachel out of frame and motioned the crew to go live.
Oh no.
Cameramen moved, lights flashed, and
There we
suddenly the
go.
studio was on air. Hi, I'm Kyle, said Kyle, and tonight I'm going to interview a very special guest. He pointed at Techno Jim using the dismembered arm. Techno Jim started to smoke from the heat of the lights. Would you like to introduce yourself? Asked Kyle. Knowing Jim would probably not speak, Kyle took it upon himself to be his voice as well. Hi, Kyle, he said, raising the pitch of his voice. My name is Rachel May, and I'm a very special guest. Rachel's expression of confusion turned to shock. Well, Rachel, you look way too thin and absolutely terrible, and you should feel ugly. Kyle gave Jim a meaningful stare.
Oh my god.
Wow, Kyle, he said. I sure wish I could look like you. Techno Jim burst into flames.
Oh god.
Instantaneously, the sprinkler system initiated. Curtains of water poured down from the rafters.
It's a good thing he's wearing a scuba gear.
Yeah.
Within seconds, the production equipment was doused in water. The set was soon aburst with electrical fires. Kyle's crew abandoned their posts as cameramen and sound mixers to try to put the fires out. As the crew scrambled around, the cameras continued to run. Kyle sat, motionless, staring forward. Eventually, the fires were all put out. Kyle's producer shut off the broadcast, leaving Kyle's vacant stare as the final frame. Kyle's ratings skyrocketed.
Of course.
Techno Jim became a staple on the show, often ending up destroyed by the end of each episode.
Oh god.
Although Rachel did not come back on the show, her cardboard portrayal did. Rachel was very popular.
Ah.
Ooh, new cursor unlocked.
Rachel. Oh my god.
Unlocks. Ah, here we are.
Yeah. Let's try doing some other things.
Right.
Kyle
Yep. All right. What are we doing?
Let's browse social media.
Kyle started to scroll through news articles on his phone. Stay Up Late with Kyle ranked #1 and #2 show on television.
Read more.
New East Bridge being constructed after being found to not actually exist. Authorities investigating.
What? Read more.
Another grand larceny and crime spree streak. Evidence points to perpetrator fleeing the country.
Read more.
Rachel May to unexpectedly leave the country on very, very long vacation after interview tonight.
Read more.
Who is the bug vigilante recently spotted pursuing larcenists?
Is this meant to be a Kamen Rider reference?
I would assume so.
Kyle fails to show up to several charity events.
Kyle.
Bug vigilante shows up to charity events with fresh baked pastries. Donations flourish. Hot dogs making resurgence as fuel source for both humans and tugboats.
What?
What?
Phone model recalled. Techno Gym stores blame overuse by customers.
Huh.
Kyle's phone exploded in his hands from overuse.
Oh my god.
Well, time to get out of bed then.
Scavenge.
Kyle quickly crouched down on the floor,
Resources.
realizing his immediate... Kyle began to comb through the damp piles of filth and mold on his floor in search of helpful items. After finding and eating a few bits of crumbs and old cheese, Kyle found something much more important.
What?
Indeed, it was
What?
the corpse of Harry, a friend that had gone
What?
missing years ago while at Kyle's house.
What?
Kyle was glad to see him again, but was unsure of whether to interrupt such an important day with Harry business.
Deal with Harry?
Kyle hoisted Harry onto his shoulder and took him outside. Kyle began dragging Harry's body down the street, drawing many, many stares. Kyle knew exactly where he needed to take Harry's corpse, on a lovely playdate, just the two of them. Kyle and Harry started at the arcade. Kyle used Harry's arms to operate the joysticks and push buttons. After 5 or 6 different games, the two friends had enough tickets for a single candy bar.
Awesome.
They took their prize to the local park for eating. Kyle tried to feed some of the chocolate bar to Harry, but Harry seemed to not have an appetite. After eating, Kyle noticed a nearby playground. He dragged Harry over. Kyle tried to figure out a way to swing Harry onto the swing set, but, lacking the ability to grip, Harry kept falling out. Instead, Kyle started to lug Harry to the top of the slide and shove him down time and time again. Finally, Kyle took Harry to the movies to see as many popular films as their pocket change allowed. Kyle quickly found that he had no pocket change, so he searched through Harry's pockets until he found his wallet.
Oh, okay.
Kyle bought 2 tickets to A Love Romance. After getting inside, Kyle left Harry to go find a restroom. By the time Kyle had finished using the restroom, he had forgotten that he brought Harry along. Kyle watched A Love Romance by himself. Harry's corpse sat on a bench in the atrium. While Kyle was in the movie, a beautiful thing happened. Harry's corpse, imbued with the power of friendship and love, was reanimated. Harry's old, rotten flesh gained color and life. His fingernails regrew. His missing eye came back. By the time the movie was over, Harry was able to greet Kyle with a large, friendly hug as his old self.
What?
Kyle was confused, but delighted to have his long-lost friend meet him on his way out of the theater. The two made plans to get drinks together and parted ways for the day. Kyle returned home, forgetting about the interview with Rachel.
Okay.
Hope's a friend. Okay.
All right. Let's exit the bed.
Yep.
Let's
Open the closet. Never mind. Check to lock door.
what do,
Oh, check pant. Open the fridge.
Kyle opened the fridge, intending to
Eat
find
the
something to
fridge.
eat. Kyle pointed his neck directly upwards and hoisted the fridge on top
Oh
of
my
his face.
god.
I love this route.
Somehow, miraculously, he wrapped his mouth around the device. He started to swallow. In one slow, horrible movement, the fridge slid down Kyle's throat. After many gurgles, pops, and snaps, Kyle felt relatively sure the fridge would not come back out.
Well, okay
Why
then.
Why is there a X next to the food? Bad food. Return to the bedroom.
What are we doing now?
Open the closet.
Yeah?
Choose an outfit.
Yeah?
Kyle decided to take some
Suit
time
of
to
armor.
choose the perfect outfit. Kyle was unsure of what exactly caused him to decide to wear his armor, but it felt like the right thing to do. After much squeezing and sweating, Kyle managed to wrap the metal suit around his dumpy self.
Sit at desk. Write notes.
Kyle wrote down his first question.
Am I a mother?
Kyle wrote down his second question.
Beef, mashed or blended?
Kyle wrote down his third
I
question.
purposely ran over a puppy.
Kyle wrote down his last
Are
question.
you guilty?
Kyle.
Checking
Hold on,
desk drawer.
I want to do something real quick.
Kyle.
Small key. Oh, you want the lard?
I want the lard.
Kyle won.
Damn it, can't get the lard.
Ah, dang it.
As Kyle. Good evening. Kyle responded.
A scream and spin insert. Actually,
Kyle stretched his arms wide, tilted his neck upwards, and was interrupted by his producer telling him and Rachel that it was time to start the show.
Start the interview.
Oh, we're not gonna insist?
Okay, insist, sure.
Kyle shoved his producer out of the way, spread his arms wide, and began to scream loudly. He began to rotate slowly, screaming throughout, lightly brushing his hands against the faces of Rachel and his producer.
What is happening?
After several minutes, Kyle was finished. He slowly put his hands to his sides and smiled.
What is this game?
I'm ready, said Kyle.
What
Rachel
are you
blinked
making
at
me
Kyle,
play,
shrugged,
Cyan?
and walked over to her seat. A
And it
moment after
begins.
seating, good. Kyle vomited all of the horrible things he had eaten earlier onto the
Oh
floor.
god, that's the entire fridge.
An entire fridge.
Rachel looked at Kyle, concerned, gave a couple coughs, and decided to play it cool and keep the show running.
Awesome.
Kyle stopped, then vomited again, then continued with a shaky voice. Tonight, I have the pleasure of interviewing the lovely Rachel May, who needs no more introduction.
Do I continue or do I not become Rachel May?
However, said Kyle, suddenly dropping his voice, Rachel May is not sitting next to me. She is not new to this show. She did not walk in before me. In fact, said Kyle, I am Rachel May. Rachel looked at Kyle, confused, and silently mouthed the words, You are who? Kyle stood up quickly and threw his arm high above him, pointing upwards. I have never been Kyle, he proclaimed. I have never been the host of the show Stay Up Late with Kyle. Kyle looked and pointed directly at the camera. I am here for but one reason, to interview myself. Kyle sat down in his chair and went to produce the notes he had taken earlier.
Does he answer his own questions now?
Kyle read the first question on his list. Are you a mother? Well, he said, brightening, I'm glad you asked. Yes, I have produced many, many, many children.
Oh my god.
Okay.
In fact, said Kyle, motioning to Rachel, one of my children is sitting here with me today.
Oh my god.
What?
no.
Rachel looked incredibly confused. After a moment, Kyle spoke again. I am your mother! He stood up again. Give me a big hug, daughter!
Oh my god. Oh my
After a
god.
moment more, Rachel shrugged, stood up, and gave Kyle a hug.
Why is she going
The
along
interview
with this?
continued, Kyle talking about his supposed raising of Rachel and their times together. Rachel engaged in the interview with exuberance, answering questions as best she could and enjoying
she
every
just
moment.
thought it was a bit.
Yep.
From this episode, Rachel's childhood and family became a debated topic in her fan base. When fans asked Rachel about the matter, she would giggle and make a joke about the interview. Scientists and fans began to dig deep, finding evidence both for and against
What?
the
How
Kyle
is
is
there
Rachel's
evidence
mother
for
theory.
it?
Oh my god.
But no matter how much anyone dug, nobody was able to come to a conclusion on the matter. Kyle had created a public mystery.
Mystery?
Awesome.
Awesome. I love
Created
it.
mystery. Okay, let's exit the bed. Let's open the closet. Let's choose an outfit.
Kyle decided to
Go
take
with
some
skunk pasties.
Kyle chose the pasties made out of mashed skunk flesh.
What the f...
Getting the slimy garments to stay proved
Alright.
difficult, so Kyle opted to stick them to his body with hot glue.
Ah!
Ah! Sit at the desk.
Check in desk drawer. Flashlight.
Desk drawer.
A sword and
Sausage
chain.
chain.
Kyle
Small key.
grabbed.
It's a room. We don't know if you're gonna have enough time. Wait.
Kyle-
Center Street. Center apartment. Center bedroom. Open the closet.
Kyle, after there was a pile.
Travel time!
time.
We made it.
The bo-
Woo!
Literally in the last second.
Oh, okay, good. All right.
Now sit at desk.
Write notes.
Right,
Kyle
notes for
wrote
interview.
Is your
down-
mother a mother?
Kyle wrote
Ever
down
eaten a
his
raw egg
second-
whole?
Alright,
Kyle
cool.
wrote down.
Purpose rid of a puppy.
Kyle
Are
wrote-
you guilty? Next bedroom. Move to kitchen. We're gonna open the fridge. We're
Kyle
going to
opened the fridge.
Eat the condiments.
Kyle started to grab condiments from the fridge,
My God.
squirting them into his mouth with both hands. Ketchup, horseradish, and mayonnaise
That
entered
counts.
Kyle's mouth at a rate that soon overwhelmed his ability to swallow. Kyle spewed the excess condiment slurry across the kitchen, covering the furniture and walls. Kyle continued until all of the condiments had been emptied. Kyle
Pantry.
wa-
Small key.
pantry-
Look at pantry. Grab the
Instead-
bottle of lard. Leave the apartment.
Lord.
Let's,
Down so. Actually, no. Yeah. We have time. I guess we can visit the neighbor.
Kyle approached. A middle-aged woman named Gabby answered the door.
What? Consume.
Kyle unhinged his jaw.
What the
swallowed
fuck?
Gabby whole.
What the fuck? What? What the fuck?
Job done. Kyle returned to the middle of the
What?
street.
Why do you have Gabby as an item?
Gabby. Visit tech store.
I'm going.
Techno
I'm,
Gym.
Quickly before
I'm lightheaded. Oh,
Kyle glanced
I'm
It's
like, and we
ours
have
now.
Techno Gym. We are going for a collectathon,
Sitting-
I see.
Yes.
Good evening, Kyle.
All right, we're doing this.
Kyle responded.
Politely. Politely.
After other
Here we go.
Good evening, everyone.
Introduce Rachel.
Tonight, I have the
More.
Kyle. Well, I'm sure we'll have a lot to discuss, so we might as well
Well,
dive
you went out
right
the way.
in. Said
Drink
Drink
lard.
lard!
Dive right into this bottle, that is. Kyle pulled out his bottle of lard, bit the top off, and chugged it. Kyle's body rejected the lard. He began to spew chunks of lard and
God.
digestive fluid in every direction. Everything within a 10-foot radius was immediately covered, including Rachel. Kyle continued to vomit. Rachel bravely fought to stay seated amidst the vomit, hoping to save the show from disaster. Unfortunately, Kyle's vomit had covered all of the cameras. There was no broadcast. Kyle finished spewing, eventually. The broadcast was not recoverable. All present were sent home to try again another day. As Kyle got home, he made a mental note to refill his lard supply.
Let's start from the start of the broadcast.
Right.
Set to interview. Gonna give that one another go.
Um,
Here we
Kyle
go.
motioned to Well, I'm... Kyle produced the notes he had taken earlier.
Is your mother a mother?
So, said Kyle, my mother is a mother. My mother's mother is her mother and my mother's mother. And many mothers have mother's mother's mother. Is your mother a mother? Rachel went to answer and stopped. I believe, she said eventually, that I should answer yes? Kyle asked another question.
Ever eaten a raw egg whole?
Hey, Rachel, ever eaten a raw egg whole? Asked Kyle. Like shell and all? Asked Rachel. Kyle continued. Like a lot. It's really bad though, so sometimes I spit it back up. There was a silence. It actually gets easier the more you do it, continued Kyle without losing momentum. So don't start, I say. Rachel chose not to answer and looked in another direction. Kyle asked another question.
I purposely ran over a puppy.
Hey, I ran over a puppy on purpose, said Kyle.
No.
Everyone in the studio froze.
Yeah, that is the right
Kyle spread his
answer.
hands out wide. It's a joke!
That is not something you could say laughing about.
He started laughing from the bottom of his stomach. Nobody laughed with Kyle. Several minutes later, he stopped laughing and moved on. Kyle asked another question.
Are you guilty?
Rachel. Are you guilty? Kyle threw his questions on the floor, stood up, and pointed at her. Rachel's eye twitched slightly. Guilty of what,
Oh?
dear Kyle? She smiled disingenuously.
She's guilty of
spat
something.
Kyle. Of your crimes! Rachel did not answer. Her eyelids both started twitching uncontrollably.
Wait a minute. Call the
What a-
police.
Kyle whipped out his phone and started dialing the police. Kyle quickly realized that the broken phone he had gotten for free was not able to call anyone.
God dang
Kyle
it.
looked sadly at his hand, realizing he had botched a wonderful opportunity to be helpful. Rachel looked at Kyle smiling. Her eyebrows twitched a bit. What's the problem, Kyle? Anything I can help you with? She glared, still smiling. Kyle looked up from his hand sadly. He slowly shook his head. The
Do we
interview
need to get a
continued
normal
on.
phone?
Rachel answered questions cheerily. Kyle
we got a
forced a
normal-
smile through the entire episode, but he felt very sad inside.
I don't know if we can get a
Isn't it-
normal phone.
Oh. You know, that would explain
Kyle
why
had missed his
why she's going on
chance
a
to
long-
be helpful.
That would explain why she's going on a very long vacation.
Oh.
Wasn't help.
Let's do all of this over again.
Yeah, there was another option instead of phoning the police.
Kyle produced... Kyle... There... Kyle... Rachel did not... After reading his final question, Kyle looked up from his paper. Well, Rachel, he said, I think that's all I was planning on asking you. If that's the case, Kyle, may I ask you something in return? Asked Rachel, smiling one more time. What on earth are you wearing? Are they made of skunks? Before Kyle could answer, the camera shut down.
Okay.
The broadcast was over.
Okay.
Kyle returned home knowing the interview had gone well. But as he
Okay. Wow, that really counts as preparing well? Okay. Let's wither away.
Oh.
Kyle,
Shucks.
Kyle-
Now a ghost. We're dead now.
Oh no.
So let's exit bedroom to hallway. Return to bedroom. Exit bedroom to hall.
Are you just wasting time away?
Yes.
Okay.
Kyle hurried to the set. Per normal, he ceased to be a ghost before he arrived.
Per normal.
Sitting across from his...
Yep.
As Kyle approached
Approach
her,
Rachel.
Rachel's smile quickly turned to shock as she realized Kyle had not put on clothes that day.
He's a
Kyle
ghost.
waved and smiled broadly. Rachel uncomfortably averted her eyes. Kyle started making his rounds around the room, greeting each crew member, none of whom looked at him directly. As it became apparent that Kyle had no intention of leaving, Rachel made some excuses and exited the set. One by one, the crew followed suit. Kyle was left all alone.
By being a nudist.
Okay, so now we do the funny. Let's
The
scavenge.
funny.
Kyle quickly
For
crouched.
gossip!
What are you so happy about?
Oh yeah, that we never did do that, did we?
Yep,
Kyle-
let's do slick suit. Exit
We really need to
bedroom,
do
go
anything
to the
else.
kitchen, open the fridge,
Ky-
prepare a breakfast,
Kyle
let's
construct-
eat it.
Kyle,
I love those sounds.
I guess there's not really
Kyle
much else
walked
to
over
do.
to the strange door in the
Close the
hallway,
door with
but
the-
found
with
quickly that the
forehead,
door was
what?
locked. Kyle decided it would be best to try to force the door open with use of his face. After smashing his features into solid wood for several minutes, Kyle gained severe short-term amnesia.
Great!
No, he's definitely not going to come back and bite us in the ass.
Sit at desk, write notes.
Kyle wrote down his first
Am
question.
I a mother?
Kyle wrote down his.
B for blended.
Kyle
Do you
wrote-
ever smile?
Kyle wrote down his last question.
Do you feel guilty? Alright.
Sit. As good.
Kyle responded!
They get her name from Amnesia.
Hello. You. Kyle's ears began to ring from his concussion. Rachel looked at Kyle, slightly confused, but continued smiling. Before she noticed the glazed look in Kyle's eyes, the producer approached. Time to get started, he said, putting a hand on Kyle's shoulder. Let's get stationed. Kyle sat in the nearest chair, which was Rachel's. After a moment, Rachel hesitantly sat in the host chair. A moment after seating, the studio lights brightened and the cameras clicked on.
This is going wonderfully, I see.
Good morning, everyone, said Kyle. My name is...
Oh no.
Kyle made a desperate effort to remember his name, or really anything. Kyle looked at Rachel. Do you know who I am? He asked. Rachel looked back, confused. Who are you? Well, if you're not Kyle, I don't know who you are, Rachel smiled sweetly. Kyle made up his mind that he was probably Kyle. Well, he said, I'm Kyle. A long silence followed. Eventually, Rachel spoke again. And I'm Rachel. Hi, everyone. She waved. Hi, Rachel, said Kyle. So why are we here? Rachel was visibly worried. Ha ha, funny,
Yeah,
she said.
that's the right
Aren't you planning on
answer.
asking me any questions? I mean, I don't have any ideas, said Kyle. Kyle kept staring at Rachel. Someone coughed. Kyle looked around and noticed the crew. Who on earth are all of you? He asked. Nobody answered. Kyle got out of his chair and walked off frame, leaving Rachel alone with millions of viewers. Rachel smiled at the camera nervously. Well, she said, let me tell you some knock-knock jokes. Eventually, the producer ended the broadcast early due to technical issues. Kyle woke up in his bed the next day, remembering nothing about what had happened.
Wow.
Got everything. Well, let's do this properly, and then get the gossip.
Right. Scavenge.
Got-
Gossip.
What are you
Taking
so
these.
happy about?
We're gonna open the closet. We're gonna get an outfit, slick suit, because that's funny as hell. Sit at the desk. We're gonna grab some notes. because I
Kyle
don't know.
wrote-
I'm my mother. That thing there. Do
Kyle-
you ever smile? Let's go. Do you
Kyle's-
feel guilty? All good. Back to the room. Let's
Let's
go
also
out.
eat
Let's go eat
food.
some food. I'm going to
Kyle op-
prepare breakfast. I'm
Kyle
gonna
can-
smash the breakfast.
Kyle smashed his breakfast to a pulp
But
using
I
both
don't need
fists.
to eat food.
Doesn't let me take the.
Kyle
This is a bit of a problem.
Correct.
Oh well. We'll figure it out.
and I as well, A moment after
Oh,
Good
wait.
evening, everyone, said
Wait, we didn't
tonight.
die.
I have the pleasure of interviewing the
Oh,
in a
Oh, no,
spot.
that's when we died.
Okay, so yeah,
Alright.
we'll just start for the interview and then do the gossip.
Somehow we survived long enough to be able to do this.
Kyle responded. A moment after. Good evening, everybody, said Kyle. My neighbor is a bug vigilante.
Wait, what?
With nothing more to say on the matter, he fell silent. Rachel, also on camera, stared at her hands and wondered when she was going to be introduced. The producer started cutting to different camera angles to break the tension.
That's it?
Kyle continued to remain silent and stare forward blankly. After several minutes, neighbor Gabby walked out onto set. "Hi, everyone," she said, smiling hollowly. "My name is Gabby, and I'm not a bug vigilante." False. Kyle looked at Gabby and then returned to staring forwards. Gabby began to reply, but was interrupted by a bug-shaped intercom on her belt.
Bug girl,
It squawked.
a robbery's in progress on East 3rd. Report immediate.
Gabby threw the intercom on the ground and crushed it under her foot. After a beat, she spoke tightly. "Something has come up suddenly and I must go." Gabby left the set.
Oh my
"Well,"
god.
said Kyle, "that's all the time we have for tonight. Thanks for joining us, Rachel." Kyle got up, shook Rachel's hand again, and walked past the cameras,
Oh my
leaving her
God.
alone. Not knowing what else to do, the producer ended the broadcast. In the coming days, fans of both Rachel and Kyle dubbed this show as a masterpiece of television. Stay Up Late with Kyle's online pages were updated to reflect this broadcast as the most popular ever. Kyle's producer later tried to have Rachel on the show again, but she was very, very, very busy.
Okay.
Let's go and visit our neighbor.
Yes, so we want to scavenge, gossip,
What are you so happy about?
learn
And
about
then visit
this.
her.
We want to be wearing something, so
Kyle
we're going to go put
decided
on the
to
skunk
take-
pasties.
Get
Does that even qualify as clothes?
Possibly.
Let's visit our neighbor.
Kyle, a middle-aged woman
actually-
named Gabby, answered the door.
Let's actually have a conversation instead of consuming her.
"Good morning, neighbor," said
Ask
Kyle
her about being a
cheerfully.
vigilante.
"Gabby," asked Kyle, "are you the bug vigilante?" For a moment, Gabby looked stunned, but then she realized his seriousness. Gabby nodded once. The door shut in Kyle's face.
Okay.
That's it?
That's it, apparently.
Kyle opened the fridge, intending to find some... Kyle started scraping streaks of crud and spots of mold
Oh,
off of the walls
God.
of his fridge. After wadding it into a crusty, moist...
Ah!
Kyle popped it into his mouth. and began to
No!
chew.
Oh
I
no!
don't like
I,
the sounds!
Several minutes of crunching later, Kyle
I
finished
hate the
and
fact that I
swallowed
can
the
imagine
ball
what it
whole.
tastes
It
like.
felt sticky in his stomach. As Kyle responded, and after a moment after seating, the studio lights brightened and the cameras clicked on.
Can we gossip more now, or I think that's just it?
Probably just the same.
Kyle, Rachel looked at Kyle, concerned, gave a couple calls.
Yep.
Kyle stopped. "Tonight I have... Kyle... Well, I'm sure... I'm... in a... Knowing he had the eyes of millions upon him, Kyle came up with a solution quickly.
Run away.
Kyle ejected from his seat and ran out of the studio as quickly as possible. After it became apparent that Kyle was not coming back, the producer ended the episode and everyone went home.
Awesome.
And let's blame Rachel next.
Rachel, I need to be honest. You're not terribly interesting, and I could not think of what I should ask you. In fact, continued Kyle, I would far rather interview a fish than I would you. And furthermore, said Kyle, I'm not sure I could tell the difference between a you and a fish.
That's rude.
Kyle leaned back in his chair and desperately hoped the blame had been shifted adequately. Rachel glowered at Kyle. Kyle glowered back. Rachel left the studio. Kyle no longer had a guest and spent the next 42 minutes staring at the camera silently.
Alright. What are we looking at currently? What are we at?
We've all gotten what?
These are all
Oh.
the interview endings. These are the around town ones.
Oh, we've barely gotten any of the endings.
Rachel was guilty.
Wait, There's a few of the Rachel's guilty endings.
Got it. So here's the plan.
Kyle-
Skip. Broken phone. We want to exit the bed, open the closet, choose an outfit,
Ky-
select suit,
Ky-
back to the room. We're going to sit at the desk, check in desk drawer. We're going to grab our flashlight.
Ky-
Sort of change.
Ky-
Going to go back to the room, exit the hallway, leave the apartment, visit the tech store, grab the batteries here,
Ky-
insert the flashlight, tech store, turn straight, back to the apartment, back to the bedroom, open the closet, inspect with flashlight.
After there was a pile of strange items, including a
box for
small
later?
metal box.
Yeah,
Kyle
sure.
stashed the device for later use.
You should. Travel. Oh, how do we use it then?
Maybe during the interview.
Oh.
A moment after seating,
Time
the
travel with
stu-
Rachel!
Good evening,
travel
everyone,
with
said
Rachel.
Kyle. Tonight, Rachel and I will time travel together. In one motion, Kyle grabbed Rachel's arm and pressed the red button on the time machine with his elbow. Kyle and Rachel were sent back to a time before human existence on
What?
Earth. They were standing next to a large lake. There was a forest behind them, full of singing birds. Lizards were everywhere. Kyle, dear, said Rachel, stern but not angry, you can't just do things like that. Rachel began digging in the dirt, looking for small, smooth stones. I'm sorry, Rachel, said Kyle. I got a bit ahead of myself. Kyle began helping to look for stones. Well, it's okay, Kyle. I forgive you. Rachel took Kyle's stones and started to build a small stack on the ground. Kyle silently began sifting through the sand near the lake to find pure mud. Well, since we're here together, said Rachel, using nearby sticks to build a pyramid around the rocks. How are you? Oh, I'm fine, said Kyle, sticking pieces of shale together with the mud. I've been preparing for your interview all day. Rachel began to bundle nearby foliage into small power cells. Do you
What?
love being famous? She asked. Kyle used the bones from the dead fish ashore to start crafting some
What?
energy capacitors.
What's happening?
What
That's
is
an interesting
happening?
question, Rachel, he answered. There's ups and downs. How about yourself? I think I'd love to be unknown with a loving family, said Rachel. Being so recognizable gets very lonely. Rachel started grabbing live birds as they flew by to make a nuclear reactor.
What?
What is happening?
What
I
is
understand that
happening?
incredibly well, said Kyle, extracting pure hydrogen from the lake
What
using
the
a reed
hell?
siphon.
What?
There was a warm, understanding silence between them. After a few minutes, Kyle broke the silence. Can you pass me the arc welder when you're done? I need to weld these bioreactive plates together.
What the hell?
Soon, the pair had constructed a janky but workable return time machine.
What the?
As they
What?
climbed in, Rachel and Kyle looked at each other. Both knew they had bonded. With the flick of a switch, the whir of an engine made out of beaver pelts, and some pops, the duo returned home. Later that evening, back at his apartment, Kyle thought about the time he had spent with Rachel. He was glad they had gotten the chance to take a trip together.
Okay.
What?
I want to try something.
Okay.
Ky- Kyle, had he? Kyle decided he should make a plan
Let's
about
spook
who.
himself.
Kyle could think of nobody better to spook than himself.
We're spooking ourselves.
Kyle sat on the sidewalk and looked at the ground. He took a deep breath. Kyle began to scream uncontrollably, as he had managed to spook himself by his very existence.
What?
Kyle jumped up from the sidewalk and began to run around, flailing his arms. Unfortunately, Kyle was unable to escape from the fact that he was himself. Kyle spent several minutes screaming. But as he screamed, Kyle realized it was becoming time for Rachel's interview. Continuing to scream, Kyle traveled to his studio.
Oh no.
That evening, Kyle tried to do well by his duties and conduct the interview with Rachel. But being able to only express pure terror, the episode consisted only of Rachel watching him scream. The episode was very popular. Kyle was asked to continue screaming in the next episode, and the next. Kyle's show was rebranded to Kyle is Scared with Kyle. The studio went on to produce many episodes. Kyle remained existentially terrified of himself.
Okay. Repeat.
Kyle's first decision of the
Okay.
morning was made wisely. Kyle decided Kyle is now a ghost. This-
Oh.
Kyle walked into the small hall. Kyle,
Oh,
had he abandoned his job as a ghost?
restart. Yeah, it just okay. It just does the entire thing again. So we want to exit. We want to leave apartment. We want to haunt around. We're gonna now go haunt the
Kyle
interview.
Kyle thought that it would be best to continue his daily course, but with a twist. Today, he would still go to his studio, but instead of conducting an interview, he would haunt. Excitedly, Kyle made his way to the studio early to find the best spot to conduct his ghostly duties. The studio was empty. Being so early, the crew wouldn't arrive for several hours. Kyle gleefully skipped around the building, finding the best spot for himself to hide. After searching for some time, Kyle decided to hide behind the guest chair. Kyle quickly placed himself down and drew his legs to his chest. Soon, the crew began to arrive and set up for the interview that night. Invisible to all senses, Kyle went undetected. He watched as cameras were set up, screens were turned on, and pages were flipped. Within an hour, Rachel walked into the studio. "Hey, everyone," said Rachel, smiling kindly. "I'm ready to get prepped. Who do I need to talk to first?" Kyle's producer approached her. "Thanks for being here, Rachel. You should really talk to Andre about makeup first, and then wait for when Kyle arrives." Kyle, knowing he was duping everyone, began to giggle uncontrollably. It was then that he, like clockwork, ceased to be a ghost. The studio grew silent. Everyone stared at Kyle, head down, clutching his legs and giggling at the floor. Kyle froze. He had found himself in a situation he had not encountered before. Kyle started to crawl out of the studio on all fours, hoping his small form would avoid attracting more attention. Everyone wordlessly watched as Kyle slowly made his way across the stage, through the production set, and out the door. As soon as he was outside the studio, Kyle broke into an all-out sprint. Kyle made his way back to his apartment as quickly as possible. Kyle sat in his kitchen and processed what had happened during his day. He vowed that he would never haunt anything again.
Kyle laughed. Okay. How do we do things? Open the closet. Inspect rusty locker.
Kyle knelt down and inspected the old, rusty container that had been in his closet for ages. It was locked, but had a blade-shaped slot in the top.
What is that supposed to be for?
Kyle decided to take... Kyle quickly crouched down.
Bugs?
Kyle started to pick between the fuzz of his bedroom carpet, hoping to catch a stray beetle or two. Soon, he had a small handful of various
Never
insects,
taken
dead
bugs
and
home.
alive.
Eat them immediately.
Kyle threw back his head and crammed the
Ugh.
sticky, wriggling mass into his mouth. He felt
We should probably
refreshed.
save them for later next time, huh?
Yeah. Bad food.
Kyle opened the fridge. Kyle.
With bad and good food? What?
Who knows? Let's visit the neighbor.
Kyle. A middle-aged woman
Consume.
named Gabby. Kyle. Job done. Kyle returned.
We
to the
have
middle of
Gabby
the
now.
street.
We have Gabby with us. Steel Techno Gym.
Kyle.
Ours now.
It's our gym now.
Good evening, Kyle. Kyle responded. Kyle was in.
Come on.
Good. Kyle vomited all of the horrible things he had eaten earlier onto the floor. Rachel looked at Kyle.
Yep.
Tonight I have. Kyle. Well,
This is all the same.
in a shock, knowing he had the eyes of
And-
millions of.
Nothing different.
Kyle.
So let's reset. Exit the bed. We're going to open the closet. We're going to choose an outfit. Slick suit. We gotta be well dressed for what we're about to do.
And what are we going to do?
Kyle. Kyle walked the pen instead of an assort. Kyle Kyle quickly crouched down on. Kyle. Soon.
Save for later use. Set a desk. Write notes.
Kyle wrote.
Is your mother a
Kyle
mother?
wrote down his second question. Kyle wrote. Kyle.
Here we go.
Kyle. After a moment. Good. Tonight, Kyle. Well, I'm sure we'll have a lot to discuss. Kyle produced the notes he had taken earlier.
We've already read that and that one.
Kyle asked a burning question from the fans, said Kyle. Beef, do you prefer it mashed or blended? Rachel answered promptly, mashed, and no more was said on that matter.
Wow.
Kyle asked another. Do you ever smile? Spat Kyle. Like, seriously. Rachel stopped smiling.
Wow.
Wow.
If you're gonna be on the show, you need to smile, okay? Said Kyle, not smiling. You're here to get views, and you'll get more views if you smile. Here, I'll show you how. Kyle turned to the camera and gave the audience a huge, teeth-clenched, bug-eyed grimace. Rachel nodded and obviously wanted to move on. Kyle. Rachel, do you feel guilty? Asked Kyle, hitting her with a hard question. Rachel raised her eyebrows. About what specifically, Kyle? Things. Things in general. Life. Rachel did not answer immediately. I think, she said, that everyone has things they regret, but those things aren't always what others would expect. Rachel folded her hands in her lap and didn't have anything more to say. After, well, if that, do you prepare for your interviews?
Yep.
But as
What
Okay.
the hell would we use the bugs for?
No clue. It's a lot of endings to get.
We still don't even know what the hell we can do with the Rachel's guilty of her endings.
Custom stories.
Is there any more we can do with the tech store?
No, I think we did everything with the tech store.
Well, let's
Wanna
try
call-
speaking with a nip. Actually, if you want to, yeah, actually, yeah.
Kyle woke up, he
Yeah, let's just call it.
is
Okay.
famous.
He is
That was
fake.
fun though.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this is a
Kyle is famous.
this is a really stupid game. I love it though.
Yeah.
Alright, well anyways, thank you all so much for watching. I've been CPU Signheart, and we'll see you all in whatever the hell we do next. Ciao!